Thank you so much for joining us again here on In the Loop. Let's first talk about the Skills Act, which I know the House is going to take up to vote later this afternoon. The objective of this is basically to consolidate training programs around the country. What's wrong here?
Well, the Skills Act is a bill that came out of recommendations from the General Accounting Office. You know, it is really a good government bill trying to go and streamline the 50 government programs that we have, all trying to help folks who are unemployed to get back into the workforce. And what we do is we streamline the programs, we allow for flexibility, and frankly what it means is the workforce boards and efforts at the local and regional levels will be able to gear their programs towards the available job openings depending on where you are. It's just a common sense bill, and we're looking forward to a good vote on the House floor, and hopefully we can help more people get back to work.
Leader Cantor, we're talking about, you said 50 programs or so. How many are you planning on consolidating into? What do we need to streamline that into?
Well, the bill actually goes and takes 35 programs and consolidates those. What we need to do is we need to remember there's some very vulnerable populations out there, and we need, and in the bill it says that the workforce training boards at the state and regional and local levels must be focused on helping the underserved. It must help veteran population that have a disproportionate rate of unemployment. This is a bill to try and match up the workforce training programs to the available jobs in industry sectors where, frankly, there are tens of thousands, if not more, openings right now because there aren't enough skilled applicants to go in and fill those jobs.
Leader Cantor, the Obama administration and President Obama, I mean, he said that, look, you know, the objective to improve job training is a good one, and one that is shared by both Republicans and Democrats. However, he says this bill, though, he cannot support it because he believes that it will leave the young, the uneducated, the poor. It will leave them without the proper programs that currently are who are currently being served by the current system.
Well, we specifically deal with that in the bill, and because what's going on now is Washington's micromanaging 50 different programs, right? And what we want to do is to make sure that the protections are in place for the folks that you mentioned, the young, the disadvantaged, the veterans population,
right,
and ensure that they get properly served. We envision a one-stop shop for those people who are unemployed so they don't have to figure out 50 different programs and the impossible maze of federal bureaucracy. We're about cutting the red tape, getting people trained, and getting them back to work.
Well, how will you be able to reach a compromise with the Democrats to get this bill forward?
Well, listen, we hope that there will be a new day here in Washington where folks are willing to look to work together. You know, the president has been on Capitol Hill over the last several days. I hope he's sincere in wanting to do that. Certainly, we all should be working in that direction for the good of the American people. Because right now, Betty, it is just too hard out there for too many working families, and we ought to focus on making their lives work again.
Well, they certainly want to see the economy and the jobs market improve. Leader Cantor, you mentioned sincerity, and I want to just take that point up because in several interviews this week you've talked about President Obama and your meeting on Wednesday with him about the budget. You said you wanted to see some more sincerity out of the president to reach a budget compromise. What would trust you more? You know, what would make you trust the president more in order to reach this compromise?
You know, I think what I've said is I hope he's sincere this time because I believe that when you have differences, you try and set aside those differences and work where you can come to some agreement on other things. We have plenty of things that we agree on with the president. In fact, when the House moved to try and replace the sequester with cuts that made sense, we took many of the provisions which the president had in his own proposals and incorporated them into ours. The problem is the president says, no, we're going to hold all that hostage until Republicans agree to lay more taxes onto the American people. We just don't think that's a good idea. There are enough taxes being raised around here. We can't be every quarter raising taxes again. We got to grow this economy. We got to get the budget into balance so that people can get back to work and those working families who feel things are very tough right now. We want to help them make their life work again.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the revenue part of it, or the tax increases, but would backing off on that position, which of course would be, would create some sort of bipartisanship, would that be what is needed to create some sort of trust with the other side?
The president got a $650 billion tax increase the first of the year. Again, Betty, we shouldn't and can't be raising taxes every 3 months around here. Washington's got a spending problem.
The revenue increase from the fiscal cliff, you're done. That's it.
Yeah, right. How can you raise taxes when you've got an economy that's still slowly trying to get out of the recession that we were in? We want growth. We want people to see opportunity. We want folks to have a brighter future. You don't do that by laying more taxes on the working people of this country. The president knows that. He shouldn't be holding hostage the things that we agree on.
Yeah.
For us to hold out so we raise his taxes. We don't want to raise taxes.
Mr. Leader, I want to play for you just quickly a comment that we got from our interview with the new Treasury Secretary Jack Lew on the budget negotiations. I wanted you to hear this.
As a senior member of the President's economic team, I expect to be very much involved in those conversations, as I have been in the past. I think there is a broad understanding of the size of the problem. There's even a broad understanding of what an ultimate solution probably looks like. What we need to figure out is the path to get from here to there.
Mr. Leader, do you trust him? Are you going to work with Jack Lew?
Yeah, I have developed a relationship with Jack Lew. He's a smart guy. I worked with him for almost 7 weeks when I served with the vice president on the so-called Biden talks. I know that Jack Lew does understand the problem. We just have very different approaches towards addressing that problem. But again, there's plenty of things that I think we can work on together and find in common. We just have to set aside this notion that somehow the answer is always looking to working people, asking them to pay more taxes. Mm-hmm. And we can grow this economy.
Asking the rich to pay more taxes.
No, Betty Lou, this is the misconception here. The American people, working people, have seen their taxes go up in a big way. After the first of the year, their payroll taxes went up.
Right.
We've got the taxes associated with Obamacare that are going up consistently, in addition to the marginal rates that went up with the fiscal cliff. The working people of this country are having it tougher now. We've got to stop that and get Washington spending under control, bring the budget into balance. We're going to pass a budget next week in the House that will bring us into balance. The Senate yesterday or this week announced a budget in which the Democratic Senate says we need to raise $1 trillion of more taxes. Mm-hmm. That's just not taxes on the rich. That's taxes all across the board. We can't have that. That's not how you grow the economy. So let's set that aside and try and come back to the real problem, which is the spending and the unfunded liabilities which the federal government continues to rack up.
Mr. Leader, I know, as I mentioned, you're going to be speaking at CPAC later this afternoon, and many say, look, this is going to try to usher in, again, the new generation of GOP leaders. Some have pointed out, though, Sarah Palin, Mitt Romney are the ones that are going to be speakers. They're not exactly the new generation of GOP leaders.
There is a lot of energy around the CPAC conference this time, and I think that our party is poised to regain some real momentum after we lost the presidential election. We've got a lot of things going on here in the House of Representatives that are focused on helping working people. What we're doing is we're taking our conservative values of empowering individuals and to help make their lives work again. I'm going to be talking a lot about education reform. I just visited New Orleans and saw what Governor Jindal's doing there. It is answering a lot of the problems facing many, many working families, single moms and dads, who all they want is some prospects for hope for the future for their kids.
Mr. Leader, just on a final note, I know you can't speak directly to the Senate hearing that's going on later this morning on J.P. Morgan and the London whale trading scandal, but it's fair to ask you this question. If lawmakers, the question raises is, are lawmakers still able to keep the public safe from banks and their risky trades? How do you assure the public that lawmakers are able to do this?
I think first you start with the recognition that a lot of folks feel like they don't have a fair shot in terms of our markets, in terms of the institutions of government, in terms of the ability to really earn success. And that's what our focus has got to be. We've got to have fair and evenly applied regulations that are smart. We don't always need more. We need smart regulations that ensure an even playing field for all investors so we can regain the confidence. You know, and America still is the capital of the world as far as capital